let's get to Caleb Williams, because that obviously got the headlines a couple of weeks ago with the first excerpt in which, in essence, you're right, the Carl Williams, his dad, in the days and weeks leading up to the draft this past year, basically tried to break the draft. And that Caleb didn't want to go there. Eventually, he did go there. Maybe Minnesota would have been a more favorable option, but he went there. Last season was what it was. What did you think, Seth, of Caleb going to the podium and doing 4 minutes unscripted, kind of just owning it and saying, yeah, you know what, I'm cool now, but yeah, pretty much all that is true.
Yeah. Well, first of all, so Carl, I think he more studied the draft in the year leading up to it, not really the days and the weeks. I think at that point, I think that, look, it was Caleb driving the bus. I mean, he's his own man and he was going to make his own decisions. I didn't catch his press conference live, but I did watch it. And, I think he came off like the person that I write about in the book. And that's that he's an incredibly thoughtful, studied, cautious. And, I think there was a lot of sincerity in his answer. And, that part of me, I wasn't surprised to see it because I've heard about it from others and witnessed it a little bit up close. But I also thought that it was kind of good for the world to see because he knew, and I think that like everybody kind of involved with that knows that this is a small portion of my book. And even so, I captured a fraction of percentage of the conversations that happened, about that draft and, what, if any, Caleb Williams could do to try to have some agency over his future employer, kind of like how Eli Manning and John Elway did.
I thought he could have taken the, hey, this is dad, not me. Like, this is all dad. I thought he could have done that. That would have been the easy way out. If I were his old man, I might have said, hey, just blame me. But he didn't. I thought his answer, as you said, he's a thoughtful guy. I thought his answer was great. But go back to his dad here, because, listen, as you well know, he talked to any labor lawyer that would listen, like, hey, how do we get around this? Seth, do you think we get to the point, and if so, how quickly is it coming, where somebody in this NIL world where players, this generation, want more control, understandably, when someone can find a way to, quote unquote, break the draft?
I think it's going to be a while. Maybe in the collective bargaining agreement, there might be something where the league and the owners give, but I kind of doubt it. I mean, first of all, it's a phenomenally successful event for the NFL. And, second of all, there was that run of contracts that, the super agent Tom Condon engineered that, happened before 2011. And, those quarterbacks who are getting picked overall were getting, massive deals and often holding out for those massive deals, and more power to them. But it was affecting team dynamics. And I think it affected, their ability to be successful, given that there's a salary cap and given that, if you're paying a rookie quarterback that much money, you're limited in what you can surround him by. And, those teams, a lot of those teams picking first aren't good. So there's a lot of staff turnover that affects quarterbacks too. I think that if you go back and you look at John Elway's press conference that he gave with his dad in April of 1983, it is really something. And you can tell that John's a little nervous and he knows this isn't going on well. This isn't coming off well, but it's really if that happened today, it's hard to imagine the waves that it would create. I mean, at one point, Jack Elway kind of mocks the Colts for having the right to pick first overall. He forgot Ernie Accorsi's name and kind of rolled his eyes as if it was irrelevant. It was a really amazing moment to go back and watch now. And when you look at what Carl and Caleb Williams considered, I mean, that was completely different. I mean, they did everything with them, within small circles, and, some advisors, but it was mostly, a pretty small circle of people that were debating these things. And, at the end of the day, I think that it fell on them to say the only way that this might work is if we create an untenable situation, kind of like the Elways did with the city of Baltimore. Ryan Poles, the Bears GM, had told Caleb, we're drafting no matter what. And, I think, there was some deliberation about, if we do try to force a trade by making this untenable, what if they still pick me anyway? And I have to deal with it. And at the end of the day, after his visit at the Bears facility, Caleb liked his teammates and he was excited about where the Bears organization was going to go. And he was excited to be a Bear. Obviously a tough first year. I mean, a lot of their fears came true, but now I think they have what they wanted all along, which is an innovative offensive mind whose success is tied to Caleb's success.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.